Good evening, friends. Today we will discuss the topic zoonosis. The topic zoonosis will be covered under the syllabus of VPH and Veterinary Public Health and Epidemiology, which you will cover under the third professional year. It is a very crisp and a small conceptual chapter which come under this department. Okay. At first, in zoonosis, what is zoonosis? What is zoonosis? The term zoonosis was given by famous scientist Rudolf Virchow in the year 1885. Okay, and zoonosis is being defined by the World Health Organization that these are the diseases and infections that are naturally transmitted between vertebrates, man and man. Okay, these vertebrates are higher vertebrates and also lower vertebrates. Higher vertebrates like mammals and animals, lower vertebrates the reptiles, amphibia, etc. Okay. Next, out of all the diseases that animals are infected, out of all the diseases that man are infected with, 4/5 of these infections are of animal origin, or we may say that out of all the infection of man origin, they are shared by man as well as animals. Okay, then what are the diseases? Let us give some examples of zoonotic diseases. Like you may know about rabies, leptospirosis, anthrax, flu, psittacosis, and many more, 750 diseases. Okay, then you may ask that how the diseases are being infected to man from the animals. The key factor that took part in the cycle of infection from man to animal or animal to man is the environment. Okay, the disease that is shared by the animal and the man by of biotic origin or abiotic. Okay, biotic means this can be any living organism, abiotic means non-living, or fomites, you can use fomites, infected particles, non-living particles. Living means like flies, ticks, mites, etc. Okay, and animal environment are linked with like forage on which the animal feed, that grows in the environment. The fecal matter that is voided by the animals that present in the environment, the disease particles that present in the fecal matter, they grow in the environment, and that again being transmitted to the human through feed and water. Okay, like this, the diseases or the zoonotic, or specifically the zoonotic diseases, they travel from animal to human and then to environment, then to animal in a cyclical pathway. And if any one of these factors is not present, then the zoonotic diseases can not able to infect any one of these tribes. Okay, let's go into the next part of this zoonosis. We will know that what are the classification or how we can classify the zoonosis. Okay, if we try to classify the zoonosis, okay, we will classify the zoonosis into 1. Nature of reservoir, 2. Types of animal involved, 3. Types of transmission, 4. physical and environmental condition. Fifth, etiology, and the major sector, that is on basis of the epidemiological features. Out of all the six types, the most important 2 points are the nature of reservoir, from which the questions will be asked on your college level examinations as well as in the ICR examinations. Okay, nature of reservoir and the basis of epidemiological features. Okay, then we will deal one by one. Okay, the first one is nature of reservoir. If you classify the nature of reservoir is again divided into 3 types, that is anthropogenosis, zooanthropogenosis, amphigenosis. Okay, we will deal one by one. That is, what is anthropogenosis? That is the disease from animal to man. Zooanthropogenosis means disease from man to animal. Amphi means both from man to animal, and another is from animal to man. Okay, like this in types of animal involved, that is from wild animals, from pet animals, from lab animals. Okay, the disease from the wild animals are called as sylvatic zoonosis. Okay, then on basis of types of transmission. Okay, types of transmission, that is one direct, another is indirect. In case of direct transmission, the disease is transmitted from one animal to another animal from carrier or reservoir. Okay, from indirect, in case of indirect, that is one biotic, another is abiotic. In biotic, these can be vectors. In case of abiotic, this can be air, water, soil, fomites. Okay, then on basis of the physical environmental condition. Okay, urban zoonosis, rural zoonosis, and occupational zoonosis. Urban zoonosis, you can classify, the example is rabies. Rural zoonosis, the example is brucellosis. Occupational zoonosis, that can be also rabies, that can be wool shutter disease, that is anthrax. Okay, on basis of the etiology, everybody here know that on basis of etiology, that is on bacterial, anthrax, brucella; viral, the flu, swine flu, bird flu; fungal, protozoal, rickettsial, and parasitic. We will deal one by one. Okay, then on basis of epidemiological features. Okay, on basis of epidemiological features, that is one direct, another is cyclozoonosis, another is metazoonosis, saprozoonosis. In case of direct zoonosis, that on basis of epidemiology, on basis of epidemiological features. Okay, one is direct, cyclo, meta, and sapro. In case of direct zoonosis, the disease is transmitted from one animal to another animal or man directly. Okay, without involvement of any vectors or anything. Cyclozoonosis means there is need of more than one host for completion of the life cycle. For completion of the life cycle, there is required of more than one host. That can be a vertebrate, that can be an invertebrate, that can be also lower or higher vertebrate. Okay, third is meta. In the metazoonosis, there is requirement of vector or invertebrate host for carrying out the life cycle of the parasite or carrying out the life cycle of the pathogen. Okay, saprozoonosis. Saprozoonosis means it is a type of zoonosis in which to complete the life cycle of the pathogen, there is requirement of non-living entity like soil, etc. Okay, or non-living entity of non-animal source. Okay, soil, plant, etc. Soil, plant organic matters or all other organic matter like fecal matters, etc. Like this come under the saprogenosis. Okay, we'll deal separately. Okay, let's go into the first part of this, that is nature of reservoir. Okay. Then in the nature of reservoirs, one is anthropozoonosis. Okay, anthropozoonosis. Not able to define anything from this name. We can able to know that is from animals to man. Disease is transferred from the animal to the man, and here the reservoir is animal. Okay, understand? Example is brucellosis, anthrax, etc. Many other diseases like undulant fever and psittacosis and leptospirosis, these are diseases anthropozoonosis. Okay, the next one is zooanthroponosis. Zooanthroponosis. Okay, here that is from man to animals. Okay, example diphtheria, example amoebiasis. Okay, and here we may say that the reservoir is man. Okay, next amphigenosis. Amphigenosis means from animal to man, and also from man to animal, and the example is staphylococcal infections. Staphylococcal infections. Okay, animal and man both are reservoirs. Okay, I think the concept of nature, the division of zoonosis, the classification of zoonosis on basis of nature of reservoir, everybody is of crystal clear. Okay, then we have to go to the next type of zoonosis or next type of classification of zoonosis, that is on basis of the types of animal involved. Okay, on basis of the types of animals involved. Basis of cardio. Number 2, on basis of animals involved. Okay, number 1 is wild animal zoonosis, and all the diseases can be anthropo amphi zooanthro. Okay, we have discussed in the previous slide. Okay, wild animal zoonosis. Okay, wild animal zoonosis, that is also called as sylvatic zoonosis. Okay, in this type of zoonosis, the infection is from animal to man or from man to animal, but the animal that is involved in this zoonosis are wild animal mostly. Example of these diseases are KFD, Dinosaur Forest Disease. Monkey. Rabies, wild, canines and felines. West Nile fever. Okay, these are the major wild animal zoonosis. Okay, and there are many more diseases also. The number two is pet or companion animal zoonosis, where the animal involved in the disease are companion animal like dog, cat. Okay, dog, cats, turtle, parrots. Okay, example: toxoplasmosis, ankylostomosis. Next can be psittacosis. These are diseases that come under the pet animal diseases. Okay, next antibole को जाकर देखा होती कि is wild ये गला. Third one is lab animal. Third one is lab animal diseases. Okay, the diseases are like from lab animals, mostly rats, guinea pigs, hamsters, and they come from animals to man through handling or through or during handling of animals. Okay, example of this disease is lymphocytic choriomeningitis. Okay, another is fourth number is fish-borne zoonosis, and this infection is due to fish eating. Okay, the diseases are like diphyllobothrosis, and sparganosis. Okay, in this we have completed the classification of zoonosis on basis of the animals involved. Okay, the next we will cover the classification of zoonosis based upon the physical areas involved or the physical environment. Okay, let's go into the third classification of the zoonosis, that is on basis of physical environment. Okay, first of all, urban zoonosis. Okay, next is rural zoonosis. Next is occupational zoonosis. Okay, urban zoonosis means prevalent in urban area. Rural means prevalent in rural areas. Occupational means in occupational regions due to occupation or occupational hazard. Occupational areas or areas of work where people work. Okay. If we go into the examples of these types of zoonosis, then in case of urban zoonosis, we may come across rabies, we may come across toxoplasmosis due to more pet animals, okay, TB. In case of rural, the examples are like mostly bovine related diseases like brucellosis, like TB, like rabies, salmonellosis. In case of occupational, there is wool sorter disease, there is anthrax, rabies for veterinarians, and other animal related diseases, and all the diseases that infected to an animal can able to infect the human in occupational diseases for a veterinary. Okay. After this, we have to classify the zoonosis on basis of their mode of transmission. Okay. Then the third one is the classification of zoonosis on basis of mode of transmission. In next, we will deal with the classification of zoonosis on basis of mode of transmission. Okay. Mode of transmission. It can be direct, it can be indirect, as I have previously described. Direct means the infection from an animal to another animal or man by means of a carrier or by means of a reservoir or by means of its feeding, working place, etc. Okay. The carrier are the animals belonging to same species of the animals which infect the species of the same animals. Means tiger can able to infect another tiger. Here the tiger is a carrier and the carrier shows no symptom of disease. Reservoir host means these are the hosts who infect species, who infect different species, and this reservoir host may or may not show symptoms, but both the carrier and reservoir host are vertebrates. They can be higher vertebrates or lower vertebrates. Then feeding. In case of feeding, there can be one meat-borne zoonosis. Number two is food-borne zoonosis. Meat-borne zoonosis means by contact or by consumption of that infected meat, the animals or the humans get infected. For example, we can say that it is trichinellosis. A important question from this is lemon shepherd cyst in muscles. Okay. Foodborne zoonosis means the infection where the infection in which foodborne zoonosis are those infections which occur in an animal or a human by means of eating the contaminated food. Okay. The examples may be like TB, salmonellosis, leptospirosis, strepto and staphylococcal infections. Let me write TB, salmonellosis, strepto, staphylo infections. Okay. I have left another thing that is like meat-borne zoonosis. There is another thing that is milk-borne zoonosis. Okay. In this milk-borne zoonosis, the infection to the animal is or man from eating or drinking the infected milk. Example that can be Q fever, brucella, etc. Okay. Here we complete the direct mode of transmission of zoonosis. Next, we have to go into the part that is indirect mode of zoonosis. And in case of the indirect mode of transmission of zoonosis, there is involvement of vectors or biological agents. Okay, that is indirect, where vectors are involved. Okay. Next, vectors are further indirectly vectors borne zoonosis. We can also classify this in the epidemiological method, that is metazoonosis. We will deal that in that section. Okay. Here in the indirect mode of transmission of zoonosis, that is vector borne zoonosis, the vectors are divided into mechanical, biological. Okay. In the mechanical vectors, the pathogens that are carried mechanically by the vectors from the source of infection to the non-infected animal or man and produce infections. Okay, they are mechanically transmitted. Okay, the examples be like colibacillosis. Okay. मैकेनिकल, द टर्म मैकेनिकल मीन्स हम इसमें बोल सकते हैं दैट एनिमल वो जो इन्फेक्शन होता है वो किसी एक वेक्टर, मतलब देखिए ये फ्लाई एक द्वारा इसके पैर में या इसके बॉडी के अंदर वो पैथोजन आएगा विदाउट एनी फर्दर डिवीजन, बिना किसी डिवीजन, बिना किसी रेप्लिकेशन, बिना किसी मॉडिफिकेशन के द्वारा आज फ्रॉम दिस इन्फेक्टेड सोर्स से तो पैथोजन आए इस वेक्टर के द्वारा आएगा और इस नॉन इन्फेक्टेड एनिमल के ऊपर इसको इन्फेक्टेड करके चला जाएगा विदाउट एनी चेंज इन द मॉर्फोलॉजी, रिप्रोडक्शन और एनी फिजियोलॉजिकल और मेटाबॉलिक चेंजेस इन द पैथोजेंस. ओके, दैट इज कॉल्ड मैकेनिकल ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ पैथोजन और मैकेनिकली द वेक्टर ट्रांसमिट द पैथोजेंस. In case of biological, the pathogens are metabolically, physiologically propagated from the source of infection to the animal which is not infected and make that animal infected. On basis of that, we classify the biological into three types. Okay, the first one is developmental. The next one is propagative, and the third one is cyclopropagative. Okay, in case of biological, there is one developmental, one is propagative, one is cyclopropagative. Okay, and all these three events are different from each other, but these three events are not carried out in this mechanical mode of transmission of pathogens from infected animals to the non-infected animals. That's why the mechanical mode is different from biological mode. Okay. We'll talk about this biological mode of transmission of the pathogens in the vectors from infected to the non-infected animals in the next slide. Okay. Let me rub it. Biological mode of transmission. Okay. What I have told, one is developmental, the next one is propagative, the third one is cyclopropagative. Okay. Next, in case of developmental, here the pathogens developed inside the vector, or they grow inside the vector, and the essential development of the pathogens is carried out inside the vector. This is the developmental biological mode of transmission. In case of propagative, the pathogens that multiplies in the vector, or means we can say that the pathogens reproduce inside the vector. Next, cyclopropagative. Cyclopropagative means here the pathogens follows the developmental pathway as well as the propagation. Means here the pathogens develops and propagates. Means it reproduces inside the vector as well as it develops inside the vector, and after that they produce the diseases. Okay, let me write all these things. In case of developmental, vectors essential for development of pathogens. Okay, the pathogens develops नहीं होगा, इधर होगा propagates or reproduce in the vectors. Okay, and here both. If you go into the examples is diarrhea, filaria, mosquito is the vector, mosquito vector. Here example is plague and yellow fever, malaria also. Okay, in mosquito as well as plague in rat, malaria in mosquito. And the third one where cyclopropagative occur, that is trypanosomiasis in bugs, that is triatoma bugs or radioid bugs, kissing bugs. Okay, next, here we complete the classification of zoonosis on basis of mode of transmission. Okay. Okay. Yeah. In case of biological mode of transmission, I have forgot to tell you that in this propagative and the cyclopropagative mode of transmission, they are further divided into trans-ovarian and trans-stadial. Okay. In trans-ovarian mode of biological method of transmission, the pathogens that vertically transmitted, they are vertically transmitted from one generation to another generation of the vector before infecting the host. Okay, I will describe the trans-ovarian and trans-stadial in the next slide in a diagrammatic representation. Let me explain you first. The trans-stadial mode of transmission means infection transmitted among the vectors in between the stages, in between different stages of vectors, and we may say that it is the horizontal mode of transmission of the pathogens before infecting the host. It means the trans-ovarian and trans-stadial mode of transmission is occurring inside the vectors, where the vectors infecting among themselves. Okay, let me explain you this trans-ovarian and trans-stadial in a diagrammatic representation. Let us consider that it is an animal, okay, and it is infected, okay, and here is an animal or man which is not infected, okay. Let me consider here a male tick, here a female tick, okay. Female tick give eggs, eggs further develop into larva. If in case of tick, then no larva, that is directly it is female. Let me female not considered as a tick, male insect, female insect, okay. Egg larva or nymph, then okay. Let us consider that this male insect or this female insect, they are feeding on this infected animal, okay. After that, the infection comes from this animal to the female insect, and from the female insect the infection come into the eggs, and from the eggs the infection come into the larva, and from that infection, from the larva, the infection come into the man if the larva feed upon them in non-infected animal, okay. This larva may develop into male, female, okay, and they feed upon this man or animal. This mode of transmission is called as trans-ovarian, okay, trans-ovarian mode of transmission. Trans-stadial mode of transmission means if the infection directly present somehow in the eggs, or somehow the infection is present in the nymph, or somehow it is present in the larva, but the infection doesn't come from its previous ancestor, and this infection from eggs to larva, or larva to nymph, and again nymph to the animal, and the animal nymph to the insect, and again from that insect the infection goes to the non-infected animal, okay. This type of transmission is called as trans-stadial transmission. Means trans-ovarian means vertical, means ancestor to the predecessor, and in case of trans-stadial means horizontal, that means in between stages, means in between larva nymph, eggs larva, nymph adult, or larva adult, like this, okay. Here complete the difference between trans-stadial and trans-ovarian. The classification on basis of etiological agents. Okay, etiological agents means bacteria, viral, protozoal, parasitic, fungal, parasitic, fungal. Etiological agents: bacterial, viral, protozoal, parasitic, fungal, and rickettsial. In case of bacterial, TB, anthrax, brucella. Viral asibori rabies, Milkers nodule, encephalitis, viral encephalitis, flu, swine flu or avian flu. In case of protozoal, Toxoplasma leishmania, trypanosoma, TRYPS, trypanosoma. In case of parasitic, ankylostoma, VLM, ankylostoma. In case of ankylostoma, VLM, CLM, subcarial dermatitis, hydatidosis, CLM, VLM, all common ankylostomosis, hydatidosis in tapeworms. Next, in case of fungal, ringworm or tinea, and aspergillosis. In case of rickettsial, Q fever, endemic typhus, etc. Okay, like this, on basis of etiological agents we classify this. The last basis of classification is the classification on basis of the epidemiological features. Okay, here we classify zoonosis into direct zoonosis, cyclozoonosis, metazoonosis, and saprozoonosis. Okay, in case of direct zoonosis means the infection from infected to the non-infected directly by contact or by vehicle, and here there is involvement of a single vertebrate host to carry out the life cycle of the pathogen. In case of cyclozoonosis, requirement of more than one vertebrate host to complete the life cycle, and the cyclozoonosis is further divided into obligatory type cyclozoonosis and non-obligatory type cyclozoonosis. In obligatory type cyclozoonosis, there is involvement of human to complete the life cycle, but in case of non-obligatory cyclozoonosis, there is involvement of human, but without presence of human there can be completion of the life cycle. Okay, so we can say that there is no involvement of humans to complete the life cycle of the pathogens. Example of obligatory cyclozoonosis is teniosis. Example of non-obligatory cyclozoonosis is hydatidosis. Okay, then come to metazoonosis. This type of zoonosis in which there is requirement of a vertebrate host as well as an invertebrate host or more than an invertebrate host to complete the life cycle. And further, this metazoonosis is classified into type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4, and the basis of their classification is relation between the vertebrate host and invertebrate host. We will see all the types in the next slides. Okay, the last one is saprozoonosis. In saprozoonosis, there is a requirement of non-animal source for infections like soil, plant, etc. Example is fungus, etc. Example is histoplasmosis, fasciolosis. Here, there in this to carry out the life cycle, there is little or not requirement, or there is a requirement of non-animal source to complete the life cycle of the pathogen. Okay, we will see the direct zoonosis, cyclozoonosis, meta and saprozoonosis one by one from the next slide. Okay, let's go into the direct zoonosis. direct zoonosis. As you know that direct zoonosis, there is involvement of only one vertebrate host or one or two vertebrate host and man to carry out the life cycle. So it can be divided into direct anthropozoonosis, direct zooanthroponosis, and direct amphigenosis. We all know that what is direct anthropozoonosis, what is direct zooanthroponosis, and what is direct amphigenosis. Let me not explain you all this once again. Okay. Direct anthropozoonosis. Direct anthropozoonosis means from animal to man. We can say the example of direct anthropozoonosis is rabies and brucella. Okay. In direct zooanthroponosis means there is from man, infection from man to animal. We can say that it can be TB, diphtheria. In direct amphigenosis, we can say the infection can be strepto and staphylococcal infection, strepto and staphylo infections. Okay, where there is man, animal, man. Okay, from man to animal, then animal to man. Okay, here there is completion of direct type of zoonosis, direct zoonosis. Okay, in the next we will deal with in the next we will deal with the cyclozoonosis. Huh? In the next we will in the next we will cover the cyclozoonosis. Cyclozoonosis. Okay. Cyclozoonosis, as I have said, that there is involvement of more than one vertebrate host to complete life cycle of pathogen. Okay. The cyclozoonosis is further divided into obligatory and non-obligatory. Obligatory, need of man to complete the life cycle. Non-obligatory, not need of man to complete life cycle. May need a man, may not need a man. Example, teniasis. Example, hydahidosis. Okay. Let me explain the cyclozoonosis in diagrammatic way. This obligatory and non-obligatory one. Okay. For obligatory, human, animal, human. There is involvement of human to complete the life cycle. Okay, this animal can be a herbivore, this animal can be a herbivore or carnivore. Example, tenia, or omnivore, we can say omnivore. The relationship is like this. In case of non-obligatory, I am scribbling, please cope up with my handwriting. In case of non-obligatory, animals, animal, man. The life cycle can continue without involving man, but the infection may happen to man in this pathway. Okay. Man may present to complete the life cycle, man may not be present to complete the life cycle. This animal can be a carnivore like dog or fox. This can be also a carnivore, dog or fox. This animal can be a sheep, goat. This animal can be a sheep or goat. Example, hydatidosis. Man can be simply a medium where infection may happen. Okay. Here we complete the type cyclozoonosis. Saprozoonosis. Saprozoonosis. Okay. In case of saprozoonosis, okay, there is requirement of non-animal object like soil, plant, organic matter, water, food, which act as the true reservoir and essential site for development of infection. Okay. Plant, soil, water, or any other non-animal source act as true reservoir or developmental site to complete the life cycle of the pathogen. Example we may say fasciolosis, where leaf of water plant tubers are involved, where metacercaria insisted. To know this, we have to study the parasitology in a crystal clear concept. The next is ankylostoma. Ankylostomosis, and another example is histoplasmosis. Histoplasmosis. Okay. Next, while classifying the saprozoonosis, the first one is saproanthropozoonosis, where there is involvement of the soil in the infection from animal to man, and the example can we say at Erythema, diamond head disease, diamond skin disease. Then saproamphigenosis. Amphigenosis means the infection from human to animal or animal to human, but there is a involvement of non-animal source, that is soil, in the life cycle involved. Okay. Then saprometaanthropozoonosis means in this life cycle there is involvement of a non-animal source. Meta means an invertebrate, and anthropozoonosis means infection from animal, infection from animal to man. Okay, कैसे बाटा कर दो आसले एटा कुछ हैला in saprometa anthropozoonosis, the sapro means a non-animal source, meta means an invertebrate, involvement of invertebrate host, and anthropozoonosis means the infection from animal to man. Okay, sorry, from animal to man. Okay, the example here is fasciolosis. Okay, here the invertebrate, that is snail, that is involved, non-animal source, that is a plant, is involved, and the animal is sheep, and the man is infected by eating the metacercaria stage of the fasciola that is present in the plants and in the tubers of the plant. By eating that, the man get infected. Okay, here we complete the saprozoonosis. In the metazoonosis, it is a type of classification under the epidemiological feature, the fourth one, where in this zoonosis there is involvement of invertebrate host, which we called as the biological vectors, where there is propagative, developmental or psychopropagative pathways, transnasal, transovarian, what I have told before. All these events occur in the biological vectors, and there is involvement of an invertebrate host to complete the life cycle of the pathogen is called as metazoonosis, where there is involvement require both vertebrate host and invertebrate host. And on basis of the number of vertebrate host and invertebrate host, the metazoonosis is classified into type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. We will deal with all the 4. Okay. Next, in type 1 zoonosis, in type 1 metazoonosis, there is involvement of one vertebrate host and one invertebrate host. Let us give the example for type 1, that is yellow fever and Japanese encephalitis. These both two diseases common as the category of type 1 and many other diseases. Let us consider for understanding the yellow fever. The yellow fever is a disease that occurs both in jungle, in sylvatic life cycle as well as in the urban. In sylvatic life cycle, there is involvement of more wild animal and human that is living nearby jungle, nearby areas, and in urban there is involvement of monkey and human. The invertebrate host that is involved in the type 1 type of metazoonosis is the Aedes aegypti or Aedes mosquito. Okay. Next, how the life cycle works. From the infected monkey, the Aedes mosquito takes the infection. It further infects the man and also infect the monkey. Similarly, when this monkey get infected or this man get infected, another mosquito, they infect from this man or from this monkey, they further infect the same monkey or they infect other animals or other monkey and mans. Okay. Next is the type 2 metazoonosis. Let us go into the type 2 metazoonosis. In case of type 2 metazoonosis, there is involvement of two invertebrate hosts to complete the life cycle of the pathogen and one vertebrate host. Okay. The example we can take that the paragonimosis, and here the vertebrate host that can be a dog and can be a man, and but the invertebrate host that are involved in this condition are snail and crab. Let us see the life cycle. If the dog is infected, let us consider the dog is infected. For understanding this, we have to understand the life cycle of the paragonimous. Paragonimous is a amphistome and it requires both snail and crab for their life cycle. From the dog, the fixation drug, the snail, they get the cercaria. From the cercaria, the crab, they get infected, and by eating on crab, the man get infected. And similarly, like from the dog how the snails are infected, similarly from the man, the snail get infected. From the snail, the crab get infected, and from the by eating on the crab or by eating on the crustacea, the dogs get infected. Okay. Similarly, the type 2 metazoonosis, where simply remember the one thing, no need to remember this life cycle. Simply remember type 2 metazoonosis means paragonimous infection where one vertebrate host is required and two invertebrate host is required. Similarly, in type 1, remember yellow fever where one vertebrate host and one invertebrate host. Only this thing is about to remember, no need to remember the life cycle. Okay, life cycle, you will study the life cycle in the parasitology. Okay, next go into the type 3 metazoonosis. In type 3 metazoonosis, remember there is involvement of two vertebrate hosts and one invertebrate host. Let us consider an example of eastern equine encephalitis. Other diseases of type 3 metazoonosis are like eastern equine encephalitis, western equine encephalitis, clonirtis. Okay. Here, take one invertebrate host, that is mosquito, and the two vertebrate hosts are, one is migratory bird, another is either horse or a man. Okay. Let us consider its life cycle. From infected horse or a infected man, the mosquito takes the pathogen. The pathogen grows in mosquito as well as in the migratory bats. From the infected migratory bats, the mosquito, again another mosquito which is infected or not infected, they get infection, which further infect an healthy man or healthy horse to complete the life cycle of the pathogen. To understand this, we have to complete the special pathology as well as the parasitology to see the life cycle of the parasites. Okay. Next, the type 4 type of metazoonosis. In type 4 type of metazoonosis, we will cover the tick-borne encephalitis and cancer forest disease. Here, there is involvement of one vertebrate host and involvement of let us take the type 4 type of metazoonosis. In this, the examples of type 4 type of metazoonosis is tick-borne encephalitis and cancer forest disease. Okay, KFD. It is also a tick-borne disease. Okay. In this type of metazoonosis, there is involvement of one vertebrate host and one invertebrate host, where there is trans-ovarian life cycle of the intermediate host will be carried out. Okay. I think everybody know what is trans-ovarian, as we have discussed in the previous slides. Okay. Let us take the last life cycle of today's class. That is, let us consider this tick is infected or this sheep is infected. From this infected sheep, the tick get infected. The tick trans-ovarially infect this tick, or this tick give birth to this tick. Similarly, this tick also infect a sheep. Okay. From this sheep, this tick get infection. This is called transstadial and trans-ovarian both are carried out. And this infected tick further infect the man. Okay. I think everybody got to understand this life cycle. No need to remember this life cycle. Only remember that this type 4 type of metazoonosis, there is involvement of one vertebrate host and one invertebrate host, where there is trans-ovarian life cycle is carried out. Okay. No need to remember anything. Okay. Last, remember the trick: one vertebrate, one invertebrate host. 2, one vertebrate, 2 invertebrate host. 3, 2 vertebrate host, 1 invertebrate host. 4, 1 vertebrate host, 1 invertebrate host. But in this invertebrate host, there is trans-ovarian, trans-stadial mode of cyclopropagative or propagative life cycle. Here we complete the classification of the zoonosis. In the next class, we will deal with the mode of transmission of the zoonosis, of the zoonotic diseases, and how the animals spread the diseases to humans, and also sometimes from how the humans, from the behavior and from the behavioral and psychological patterns of the human, the animals get infected. Okay. Please like, share and subscribe our channel. If you find any doubt anywhere in these slides, you directly ask the question in the comment section. Our group of friends will help you definitely to meet and to clear all your doubts. Okay, thank you.